Hey guys, happy Sunday to you. I hope all is well. I got all your DBs graded and entered the grades. I've asked some of you to reach out to me to schedule a brief Zoom meeting. That's not mandatory, but I can walk you through any of the corrections that might need to be made. And it's just an easier one-on-one kind of thing. So I like to do that with anybody. And if I didn't offer you, I'm happy to walk you through any questions anytime with the Zoom meeting. Just reach out to me. Again, not mandatory, but if moving forward, we need to make those corrections. So if you're not sure or need that clarity, please reach out to me. Some of them are minor, some of them are a little more significant, but that's okay. Either way, as I've said from the beginning, as long as you made the effort, you get the points. If you didn't get 50, please visit your syllabus and your grading rubric, and it'll tell you exactly why the grade is what it is. But overall, wonderful job. Many of you touched on the language, which is near and dear to my heart. As you already probably know, I've mentioned it multiple times. The language we use matters. And depending on the setting, the language can change. Obviously, in a 12-step group, addict or alcoholic is that's what they use, and that's okay. It's great in that setting. It ends up becoming a very positive thing, actually, in my opinion. In a clinical setting, however, I don't know that it's all that appropriate. Again, we want to really start coming from a strength-based, positive-based philosophy as clinicians, right? And so, yes, there's lots of professionals that still use that language and have their beliefs. Look, you ask 10 of us, you're going to get 10 different opinions. And that's okay. This is just one I believe works well. So that said is, again, good job. Make sure you get familiar with the DSM criteria. That is where we get our diagnosis, right, of a substance use disorder. So that said, again, a wonderful job overall. Moving forward, this week is your first paper due, and it's a 2 to 3 page paper. Look, I'm going to encourage you to follow every guideline. 2 full pages, not a page and 3/4, all the APA. You need a title page and a reference page. There's plenty of examples in the APA tab in D2L for reference. All you have to do is copy and paste the title page. It needs to look just like the student example paper. All you got to do is copy and paste it and put in your information. Just like the citations of the textbook, I've done all that for you. I've cited the big book, which is AA's textbook. The DSM I've cited. So all of those things, the 12 and 12, all of those things are in your APA tab. But again, for future reference, you can always reach out, Zoom me if you have any questions. With that said, let's talk about 12-step philosophy a little bit. So first, if you're a member of one of these 12-step groups, which I know many of you are as your introductions, I really am going to lean on you to follow your what we call recovery principles, right? Ethics. And go to a meeting you've never been to, meaning a program you've never been to. If you're a member of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm going to ask you to go to Narcotics Anonymous or Al-Anon or ACA, which is a phenomenal program. CA, those are really our choices. That said, if you're a member of NA, you get the idea. Go to AA or Al-Anon or Nar-Anon or, ACA. The idea is that we're going to be asking many of our clients to have new experiences as well. And yes, it causes some stress for some of us, some anxiety. We don't know what to expect. I get that every semester, and I get it. Your clients are going to feel the same way, many of them. Many of them are jaded or upset at programs, have resentments at programs, and don't want to go back. So having this experience is valuable on so many levels. 12-step philosophy says they believe, let me say this. They believe in the medical model, which is the disease concept. They say you have this disease, and this is a point of contention to many people. Most professional research, or let me say this, a lot of professional research supports this. On a personal note, which again is irrelevant to my counseling, but on a personal note, I will go to my grave with the knowledge that this is a disease, because of the way it hijacks my brain's reward center and some things are out of my control. And I'll touch on that a little bit here in a second. But they believe in the medical model, the disease concept. You come in and you admit that you're powerless over this disease, right? Over alcohol in particular, and AA, or addiction and Narcotics Anonymous, or cocaine and CA. And that your life gets unmanageable. Many people recognize right away, look, it's unmanageability. That's easy to say. Powerlessness, people struggle. From a clinical standpoint, I will use that as, but by admitting this powerlessness, doesn't that then empower you to make this change? So, we really do, as clinicians, we want to reframe to a more positive, strength-based place. Doesn't change AA's philosophy or principle, right? But their principle is, or their philosophy and ideals are, you admit you have this problem. You come to these meetings and find this community. You find a higher power. God, as you understand him, or a higher power is how they label it. And that is, so they're all inclusive. If you really look at the history of this program, it came right out of the Bible, which, regardless of how you feel about that, they made Bill W., the co-founder of AA, I believe, created this higher power, God as you understand him, to be all inclusive, right? You can't help somebody if you shut them out. Right? And so that's the same thing with us. And this is another reason why our personal history, while it has great value as clinicians, and I'll touch on that throughout the semester, absolutely has great value, is irrelevant to our client. Even if they're like, well, if you can't relate, I can't work with you. Well, that's not true, right? Even if they feel that way, sometimes we can set them up for an imbalance of power. Well, I can't do what you did, right? Or I don't believe what you believe. So just that's a side note. I'm getting sidetracked here. Let me get back to these AA guidelines and principles and things. Is you come in, you get with this community, you work, you lean on this higher power, you do this 12-step model of work, which I'm going to be honest, regardless of what you feel about AA, NA, CA, AAA, MBA, all the A's, this philosophy of living is solid as a rock. And I will tell you, as a clinician of 15 years, I use it with every single client I see, without exception. I may not dress it up as AA, but their philosophy is this in a nutshell. Be a good human. Live in the moment. Live in gratitude. Control the things that are in your power to control, and practice acceptance on the things that are not. That has nothing to do with drinking alcohol or using drugs. That has to do with living life. And when I live by that philosophy, my anxiety is less, my depression is less. Now, I'm not saying it cures all those things, right? It's widely documented that Bill W. took sedatives and LSD trying to still cure his depression. There are mental health problems that still require other attention in many cases. But for those that don't have a disorder, I can get depressed. I can have anxiety. It doesn't mean I have a full-on disorder. It helps with these things. And even if I do have a disorder, living in this framework helps. It helps me be more at peace. It helps me just really not get upset over the things that I can't control anyway. So I just thoroughly believe, personally and professionally, in this philosophy. So you come in, you do these things, you work this step work. Ideally, you work with others. And you carry that message across. That's kind of their ideal. That's their ideology in a nutshell. It's a little more complex than that, but it's in a nutshell, that's it, right? And so this is a valuable program. I thoroughly believe in, and I want to say this, though, as I continue. All of the programs are valuable. All of the programs are good. They're just not always a good fit for every client, and that's okay. This is why it's our job to get to know these resources and be familiar with them so that we can educate our clients so that they can make an informed decision as to what's best for them. I can say AA is wonderful all day long. I got sober there. I've been sober 16 years, blah, 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 blah. My mama got sober. My daddy got sober. My brother got sober, all the things. And I can thoroughly believe in that program. Doesn't mean it's right for my client. And I don't want to, as a clinician, I don't want to influence that in some way. I want them to make that. I want to educate, and I want to say, hey, let's talk about the potential benefits of a program like this. Let's look at what the potential negatives might be for you. How do you think you land there, right? And we want to educate that. So in this paper, what I want you to, and I don't care if you do Zoom or in person. I would prefer in person. Not everybody can do that, and that's okay. I think the connection there's a little different. Try to go to an open meeting, meaning everyone can attend. Closed means it's just for the person with the issue. Let them know why you're there. You don't have to talk. You don't have to do any of that. Be respectful of their program, of their norms. Someone calls and you feel uncomfortable to talk, just say, I'm just here to listen. Thank you. If you feel comfortable talking, talk. Please don't take notes. It just makes everything uncomfortable. I want to say over and over and over again, regardless of your belief, of your thought, of what you're feeling, be respectful of their program and their group. That's it. That's all you do, right? So in writing this paper, I don't want to hear about the history of the program. I don't want to hear about comparisons of programs. I want you to write about your experience, your feelings looking for a meeting, your experience going to the meeting, your experience with the people in the meeting. I don't want a half a page on what Sally said at the meeting. If you want to reference, hey, and don't use names, but if you want to reference, hey, a person said this and I felt this, great. If you want to say, hey, this program was invented in the 1930s, great, one sentence. But if you give me a half a page on the history or comparison or what somebody said, you're going to lose points for that. I need you to hear that because it's not a filler. I just want you to write about your experience, because here's what I'm asking of you. And it's can be a challenge sometimes. I'm asking you to be a student and look at it through those eyes. I'm also asking you to be a professional as a clinician and look for the value or the things that may not be valuable in there. And I'm also asking you to look at it through the eyes of a client. Right. And so in those three hats you wear, so to speak, you may have differing opinions. And remember, it's just not about what I feel about the program. I don't have to like the program to refer it to a client. Right. So anyways, I think you get the idea there. My hope is I really want you to write about your experience. Follow the guidelines to the letter, please. 2 full pages, 2 to 3. 2 minimum, 3 maximum. Don't give me 7 pages, but don't give me a page and a half either. There needs to be a title page and a reference page, just like the student example paper in D2L in the APA writing tab. If you have any questions, please reach out to me about it. But I love 12-step philosophy. Most of our treatment centers are 12-step based. That doesn't make it right for everyone. Again, I want to say over and over and over and over, all of these programs are good. They're just not always a good fit for your client. And I don't want to alienate not one client because of language I use or because I have this belief that this is the way to go or that's the way to go. Because I'll tell you things like, I've been to many meetings where people are like, if you don't do it this way, you're disconnected or you're not trying or you're not engaging. And that's not always true. It's true a lot of times. It's not always true for everyone. And what if I'm that 1 or 2 or 10 or whatever it is that's not really the case and I'm being told that? How helpful is that? It's not, right? So just like I know I'm jumping the gun here. Our next paper will be everybody's going to go to Smart Recovery. You don't get a choice there. And their philosophy is very different than 12-step work. Not better or worse, just different. And I'll explain that as we move on. But they do a training, and so they don't have random people leading their meetings, which there's nothing wrong with that. I love that. That's service work, right? I've led many meetings without training. But Smart Recovery has a particular format they use, and you have to go through a training to lead a meeting. And they're very particular in their training. This is why I'm bringing this up, to say we don't bash other programs. We encourage the use of other programs. However, people do what people do. And so when you get into these meetings, they see, AA didn't work for me. It's not a good program. That's not true. Just because it didn't work for them doesn't make it a bad program. All of these programs are good. Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous. There is like 200 plus programs with either the word anonymous in it or 12-step philosophy. Caffeine Anonymous. I've had somebody actually attend that, and it works the same. Good, solid programs. So again, if you're a member of any of these programs, please go to a new program. So do that. I don't think that's asking too much. I want you to have that experience. Use your resources. You still need 2 resources. So Dan, how do I use a resource on an experience? Well, I'll tell you, it's super easy. For example, if I'm going to an AA meeting, and I'm writing about my experience, I can note in 1 sentence, according to Lewis et al. 2019, which as you'll learn from your DBs, that's your author and that's how it's written. Et al, side note, just means more than one author. According to Lewis et al. 2019, Alcoholics Anonymous is the most heavily attended self-help group in the United States. That's how you do it. I chose to go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. According to Lewis et al. 2019, Alcoholics Anonymous is the most heavily attended support group worldwide. Anything like, there's your reference. That's your support. Then you talk about your experience, right? So anything like that you can support with one sentence, that's all you have to do. And then look for, the big book is a great resource as well. There's lots of resources, and I've already cited it for you in the APA tab. Again, you can always reach out to me for a Zoom. So I love reading your papers. I probably won't be able to get them graded like I did your DBs today. That's a lot of papers to go through. It takes me a few days for sure, usually most of the week. I will have it graded within a week. I promise you that. That said, is next week. You can't do next week's assignment if you don't turn in this week's assignment. So while yes, you can turn in papers late, DBs you cannot. Keep that in mind. As you already know that because you did your syllabus quiz. You can't do this week 5's, or next week's 5. Easy for me to say. You can't do next week 5's assignment if you don't do week 4's paper because it's a summary of the paper. So it should be a super easy week next week. All you have to do is, there's no reading, I put aahouston.org, which is the website, become familiar with it. But there's no real reading. It's a give me week, meaning I don't want you to copy and paste your paper. That won't work. But I also don't want you to reinvent the wheel. I want you to use the information for your paper, same resources, same everything, and put it in a DB format, 250 words. Excuse me. Reply to 2 of your peers. You get the idea by now. And then after this week, this is where the course starts to repeat itself. Next week's DB is a summary of your paper. Then you have a quiz. Then you have another DB. Then you have a smart recovery paper. Then the first DB will be a summary of that paper. Then a quiz DB paper, right? So that's how it's going to go. I love this work. I love these programs. That they're so helpful. I encourage you that, I know we're all busy. I know we all have lives and families and jobs and school and all the things. But here's the thing, it's our responsibility to know about these resources. And my hope is whatever meeting you choose to attend, that you go to the other ones on your own. Become familiar with them so you can educate your clients about how they work, what they are. Because I've learned so much by going, so much I thought I knew about them that some was accurate, but a lot of it, there's so much misinformation from my peers out there or maybe I just heard it wrong or whatever the case may be over the years. So I encourage you to do that. But guys, great job overall on your DBs. I look forward to reading your papers as they come in. I will give you individual feedback on your papers. And then the idea is that you summarize your paper, put it in the DB format, and share it with your peers. So I probably won't give too much feedback on that. There most likely won't be a video next week, as it'll just be wrapping up 12-step work. I'll catch it up the next week with one, but we'll see. You never know. I may say here's something that catches my attention and want to share it with you. So guys, have a great week. As always, if I can be of any support, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll talk soon.